Today, I'm going to be ranking every Minecraft Bedrock server. I'm going to be ranking them based off my own personal opinion and in a tier list format. If you don't agree with something that I said, let me know in the comment section as I'd love to hear it. Anyways, let's get into it. Starting off, we have Hive. Hive is Minecraft Bedrock's biggest server. It has a very expansive community with a ton of content creators, and the game modes are overall fun. It has a good design, and overall is pretty good. But you cannot deny that Hive has some underlying issues, and it mostly comes from its lack of updates. Hive recently has had a very low percentage of updates, and even if we got updates, they didn't really change the game that much. For example, Treasure Wars becoming Bed Wars was not really a huge update. Personally, I think Treasure Wars was better because it gave Hive this kind of uniqueness. It was like Bed Wars, but it was its own unique creation, while Bed Wars was just Bed Wars. Every other server had it, and like I've said before, Bed Wars Season 2 isn't anything to write home about. Sure, they added some stuff, but they added totems from CubeCraft. And pretty much, again, it's just the same game with a few minor additions. Hive really needs to update its game modes more. Sure, the game modes are good quality, they're fun, the KB is good, the PvP is good. Again, there's a great variety of game modes, Bridge, Ground Wars, Gravity, and of course you have Sky Wars, which, you know, is nothing special, but in my opinion, it's in a really good form at Hive. I'm personally going to have to give Hive A tier. I think Hive is good in every way, but of course it has a few issues such as updates, and I've heard some things about the staff team. Moving on, we have to go to the sister to Hive, which is CubeCraft. I'm going to make this short and I'm going to make it sweet. CubeCraft has been on a decline over like the past year-ish, and well, we already know about the staff team. The staff team has been pretty much known at this point for being horrendously bad. I've never really heard much about the staff team, except for like what they did to a couple of YouTubers. The game modes, they haven't changed in what feels like forever. Bed Wars was a good introduction that came a while back and made CubeCraft feel a little bit more smooth, but by now it's stale. Much like Hive, after you play these games enough, they're just gonna get stale. There's nothing really keeping you coming back. If you want to play duels, just play a practice server. Duels is a fun game mode at CubeCraft, just not enough to keep the community engaged. There's like 0 content creators at CubeCraft now, and overall, CubeCraft has a ton of issues going for it right now, including lag. So I'm gonna have to put CubeCraft in B tier. It's still a good, decent server, just has a lot of issues that really need to be fixed. Next up, I'm going to be talking about Lifeboat, and just like CubeCraft, I'm going to make this one short and sweet. There is 0 reason to play Lifeboat in 2025. Sure, Lifeboat may be one of the most nostalgic servers for people on Bedrock, but you can't deny, compared to every other server, even practice servers in 2025, this thing just falls short. Sure, it has mini games, but that's really about it. Sky Wars is here, and it's just Sky Wars. Again, there's nothing really special about Lifeboat. You should not let nostalgia cloud your judgment here. Compared to every other server, updates, community, this thing just falls short. The community is practically dead, it's made fun of a ton. There's just no reason to play Lifeboat anymore. Sure, it's sad, but again, compared to everything else, it's majorly outnumbered. So I'm gonna have to put Lifeboat in D tier. I'm not gonna be disrespectful and give it F, but it is definitely a D tier server at this point, and I really doubt Lifeboat's ever going to get better. It's just become old with time. Now, I do want to say that this is the last featured server I'm going to be talking about, because the rest of them, such as Galaxite, I don't honestly know enough about to talk about. So going into the practice servers, we have to start with Lurec. I'm going to be honest, I have been a really big supporter of Lurec. I love the design, the maps are amazing, but I'm obviously going to have to be honest and talk about the issues. This player base is horrendous. I can never find anybody online when I try and play Lurec, like at all, unless I ask them to get online. But you do have to be honest. There is almost nothing setting Lurec apart from other servers such as Zeka and Hesu. Don't get me wrong, like I said earlier, I love Lurec. I have been a big supporter of it, and I think it has a lot of potential. But again, there's just issues. It may have a good staff team, it may have good designs, it may have wonderful maps, but the issue is there's not a lot of engagement for people to have on Lurec. Now, I have heard that they are working on I believe season 2 is what they're calling it. That's going to add a lot more stuff to set them apart, and hopefully that will be enough to push Lurec out. But I mean, it's a good server. It just has unfinished things, is what I'm just gonna say. It's just, I guess you could say, unpolished. It hasn't reached its full potential yet. That's why I'm gonna have to put it in the low B tier. I think Lurec has a lot of potential, but if they keep working, they can definitely go up to potentially even A tier. Next up, I'm going to have to talk about Zeka. I'm just going to breeze through this one too. Zeka Season 8, we all know, it's great. They added a lot of new stuff, they improved a lot of quality of life. The maps are good, the new game modes are good. Zeka is a good server. I mean, it's a great server all the way around. The only problem with Zeka has been the horrendous community, which it's notoriously known for. Everybody pretty much knows that Zeka has a bad community. But other than that, the server is absolutely wonderful. I actually really think Zeka Season 8 is amazing. I've said it. Even when I got to first playtest it back when I was staff, I also said that. I think Zeka Season 8 is really good, and for that, I'm going to give it actually A tier. It's not a server that has a whole lot of issues right now, and it's pretty well balanced all the way around. There's not much else to say here. There's not really many problems I can really point out other than just the community side. Next up, we have to talk about Hesu. Now, before you say, oh, game test, you're going to be biased because you're staffed at Hesu, don't let that fool you. I'm still going to be honest. Now, I will say this. Hesu, I think, is a really good server. It gets a lot of hate, and that's disgusting. Hesu does not deserve to get the hate that it does. It's really fun. For example, people say the PvP and the KB is bad. When I play it, I say, this is wonderful. I actually really like the KB and PvP at Hesu. Hesu has a decent player count. Sure, it could be more, but again, it's decent. It's way better than Lurec's. The design, I personally think Hesu has the best design out of any practice server. I love the design, I love the hub. I think it's, in my opinion, better than Zeka and Lurec's, which is really saying something because they both have wonderful hub designs. The game modes, sure, there's nothing really here that everywhere else that's a practice server doesn't really have, but I will say, Hesu, honestly, with its maps and kind of how the game modes work, just kind of gives it this sort of freshness that another server doesn't give you. Like mid-fights, I prefer it here. No debuff, I prefer it here. Build FFA is amazing on Hesu, and in my opinion is the smoothest way to play Build FFA. The only issues with Hesu, I would say, is just, again, lack of content and updates. Hesu hasn't had a really big update in a while, and I know that they're working on an update, but that's really about it for Hesu. I'm honestly going to have to rate Hesu at A tier. I think it's not enough to beat Zeka, mainly because Zeka just has more content. But if Hesu gets a lot more content, they can definitely push up above Zeka and potentially be even an S tier server. That's why I'm going to have to put Hesu right below Zeka. Now, last but not least, I'm going to be talking about Strike FFA. Now, this is my server, and I'm going to talk about pretty much how I feel about it going forward and what I think about it. Now, before we go into this, I do want to say one thing. I'm aware that I haven't covered some servers like Pot Lounge or Divinity, and much like the featured servers, it's because I haven't played them enough. Maybe I'll do a sequel eventually when there's more practice servers and I've played a lot of them, like Eric's, Titles, you know, stuff like that. But let's go ahead and get into it. I really do think that Strike FFA, and hearing feedback from other people, is potentially going to be a really good server. The hub design is great. The game modes that we've been working on are doing pretty well. I really, again, think, right now, it's nowhere near Lurec or Hesu or Zeka. But I think in the future, even when we add duels, this server could do something if we just handle it right. But based off where it is right now with the 1.2 update coming out, I'm going to have to put Strike FFA in the C tier. I don't think it's A tier, B tier, no. It suffers from low player counts, it suffers from pretty much everything else, but we just started, and I think later it has potential to grow. And this is the finalized tier list. Do you agree? Let me know down below in the comments. As you guys know, I love talking to you. And if you aren't already, like and subscribe as we were on the road to 2,000. And I'll see you all on the next one. Oh wait, thank you to our channel members. Anyways, bye-bye.